We are live. What's up, my friends? Abby here. Welcome to the Write With Me live stream for the second week of NaNoWriMo. I'm just going to turn this light down slightly so it doesn't blind me. Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad you're here. Tell me if you can see me and hear me okay. And if you're excited to write today. I am excited to write, to work on my writing project. It's not quite like writing fiction, but it is sort of in the vein of writing and publishing. And anyway, it's something that needs to be written. So tell me what you're working on today. Type in the chat, let me know, and tell me where you're tuning in from as well. Yeah, I have bangs again. Some of you probably noticed. I thought it'd be fun to try something new. So that's what's happening. Awesome. So I see a bunch of writers tuning in. You all can hear me okay? Wonderful. Awesome. I see writers from France, Iowa, Czech Republic, Germany, Portugal, Texas. Awesome. So many different writing projects being worked on as well. It's so exciting. So if you're doing NaNoWriMo this year, tell me where you are with your goal so far. It doesn't have to be a word count goal. Mind, a lot of people don't do word count goals. They just try to dedicate a certain amount of time to their writing each day. And that's, I think, a really valuable thing to do, even more than counting your words, because yes, you can definitely see your progress when you count words, but the important thing is that you show up for yourself. So as long as you're showing up for yourself and you are having creative, playful time where you are getting inspired and you're moving forward on your project, that is what really matters. So tell me if that's been what has been happening in your life lately. And also no worries if you haven't been able to work on your project too much this month, because, schedule's gonna be crazy. I know. But it looks like you guys have been making great progress. Let's see, 20,000 words. Iva's at 64% of her 50,000 word goal. Awesome. That's so cool. Tony did 27,000 words, 10 chapters complete. That's so exciting. I see someone else said 30,000, 17,000, 20,000. Awesome. Well, guys, you're doing amazingly. And I'm so glad you are here for this live stream today. So today I am going to be working on my nonfiction book proposal. That has been my writing project for the past couple of days. And actually I worked on my historical fiction this morning. So I can't say that I've only been working on the proposal. I just had to do a little fiction writing this morning. But for the past few days, I've been working on my book proposal, and you probably heard me talking about that in my last vlog. If you didn't see my last vlog, go to my channel after this live stream, check it out. But in that vlog, I kind of show behind the scenes what I've been working on lately. In addition to my historical fiction, I am also working on my nonfiction project, moving that forward. So last week was writing the query letter, and this week I am writing my book proposal. And I'm almost done with it. I have like 2 sections left, and that is the chapter abstracts and the sample chapters. But the sample chapters I've already written. I just have to edit them and make sure they are in top shape to be included in the book proposal. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be working on in this session, is the chapter abstracts, which is basically like a breakdown of all the chapters in the nonfiction book. And there's quite a few of them. So we'll see how far I get. But hopefully, I'm hoping to make some good progress in today's session. Also, if you guys feel a little bit far away today, it's because the light is just blasting through this window. So I had to kind of like move my computer over so that I wasn't blinded by it. I have some nice chai tea here. Hopefully you guys have something lovely to drink and get ready for your first sprint, because we're going to get started in just a second. I'm going to go ahead and start a sprint in Discord too, if there isn't one already going. Sometimes there's already a sprint going in Discord, but we'll see what's going on in there. And if you like these live streams, you like writing sprints, you like the community aspect of chatting with other writers, and if you're not already in the Discord, you would really, really love it there. Trust me. It's amazing. There's such a vibrant, amazing community in the Discord, and all of you guys are just so amazing how much progress you make all the time in there, sharing your work and doing writing sprints and encouraging each other. It's so nice to see. And so if you like this community aspect of chatting with other writers and doing writing sprints, definitely check out the Discord. The link for that is below. It's within my Patreon. So when you join in my Patreon at any level, you get access to the Discord. So let's see what's going on in here. Writing sprints. Okay, cool. So I'm going to go ahead and start one in the Discord because there isn't one going yet. And if you're over there, feel free to join there too. Otherwise, stay here with me on this live stream. Let's see. I'm going to just join with my current word count, which is a little over 4,000 words. And okay, cool. And I'm going to start this timer here too. And if you're new to these live streams and this is your first time being here, the way they're structured is we do 25 minutes on with 5-minute breaks in between to chat about our books. And during those breaks, I will answer your questions, as many as I can, during the 5-minute break. And then we get back into our next writing sprint. We're going to do 4 writing sprints total, which will bring us to about 2 hours. Just want to make sure my screen doesn't shut off here while we have our timer up. Super chat came in. Thank you so much for the super chat from Bartik TV. Hi, Abby. Any advice for initial burnout, how to deal with it and overcome it to write again with joy? Thanks. Love your channel and your advice. Thank you so much. Well, we don't have a lot of time before this first sprint begins, but I will say to recover from burnout, what I usually do is I just take a break. I take a step back from whatever I'm working on, and I just allow myself space to do something else that's creative, but not writing necessarily. So that might be playing music or getting outside in nature or painting or dancing or doing an athletic sport, like something that makes your creative brain still work, but you aren't like just doubling down on your writing project and forcing yourself to, work when you don't have any creative juices left. You have to refill your cup in order to pour from your cup. So do something that rejuvenates your soul and then return to it later. And don't pressure yourself into like always performing, because you don't always have to be pouring out creatively. You have to take some time to pour into yourself too creatively. So hopefully that helps, but we can discuss more of these conundrums in the next break. So I'm going to go ahead and set my timer, and you'll hear it ring in 25 minutes. Okay. Good luck, everyone. Let's go. All right. That's the end of our first sprint. Tell me how it went in the chat. Hopefully that was a productive 25 minutes for you. It was definitely productive for me. Let's see. 46 to 4 is where I ended. Just 373 words. Okay. So, making progress, slowly but surely. Type your word count in the chat if you desire. Otherwise, just celebrate the fact that you stayed focused, because that's the most important thing. Let's see. A super chat came in also. I wanted to get from Dragon's Fire earlier. This one came in. You said, I'm currently 26,000 words / 34 chapters into my fantasy romance zero draft. Very proud. Question, how can I get feedback on my book when I don't have anyone interested in this type of book? So first of all, congratulations on making so much progress. It's amazing. You should be super proud of yourself. But as far as getting feedback, if you feel like you need some feedback on it and you don't have anybody who's interested in this type of book in your immediate space, you can definitely find people. Okay, so there are so many people who'd be interested in reading your fantasy romance. I mean, that's definitely in a lot of people's interests in their TBRs in their categories of books that they love to read. So find your people. I would say start with online writing communities like this one, especially if you're in the Discord. I highly recommend joining the Discord, and you can do that by joining my Patreon. Link is below. But in the Discord, we always have writers who are like sharing their work, getting feedback on it, and also just like making personal connections via DM and sending each other their work. Lots of people finding beta readers, critique partners in that group. So that's a great place to start. But you can also find other writing forums online that connect writers in this way. And you can also hire it out. So that's another option, is that you can hire a beta reader through a platform like Readsy or something similar and get feedback that way. But I would recommend like kind of building yourself like a little dream team of supporters who are also writers who maybe read the genre that you write, and just start connecting with people, making those connections, because that will be so helpful in the long run. These people will be like your go-to support group eventually, you know, and that's so good to have. So hopefully that helps. I think that's a good place to start. Let's see. Question from another super chat came in from Dragon Keeper Alley. I've seen you a lot in the Discord, so welcome. So glad you're here. You said, hey, Abby, you say show don't tell a lot, but what times is it good to tell instead of showing? That's a very good question. And actually, I just posted a video a couple weeks ago on showing and not telling internal conflict, which if you haven't checked that out, definitely watch that one. That's on my channel. But in that video, I kind of talk about how like showing versus telling can really be boiled down into like one rule, which is that showing, or rather telling, explains what something is, and showing allows you to interpret it. So what I mean by that is when you are showing the reader something, you're kind of just letting the characters do their thing, do their actions, make their decisions, and say what they're going to say. And then we, the reader, have to interpret and kind of read into what is it they're feeling without them just coming right out and telling us what they're feeling. I would say when it's okay to tell instead of show, and this of course really, it depends so much depending on the case, but when you have a character who is maybe explaining something in dialogue, and even then you're putting it through the lens of their belief system, right? Because we have to do that to make it feel like that's what the character would say. But things that maybe don't matter so much to their internal conflict, but are, you know, just necessary pieces of information that we need to know, we can kind of play with that balance of show versus tell. And I find this kind of funny because like a lot of people use that example of like saying, not saying she was cold, but saying like she shivered. And that is a good example, but you don't necessarily have to like sort of, you know, beat yourself over the head with this rule over and over again whenever you catch yourself saying like, oh, she was cold. Oh, I shouldn't say that. Like, don't be too intense about it, because you can always fix things in the later drafts, first of all. But second of all, like, you can get away with telling some things. It's not a crisis, and it certainly doesn't make your writing sound bad if you say some things that are less important to the character's internal conflict. I'd rather be shown things about the character's internal conflict than told them. But with things that are less important to their internal conflict, it's like, it's really up to taste. So kind of use your own discernment on that is what I'd say. Let's see. So I have time to answer one more question before we get into our next sprint. Della Luna asked, hello, Abby, do you have any tips on plotting short stories? Do you use the 3-act story structure? So again, I have a video on my channel about short stories. Definitely go check it out. Every short story is different. Some follow kind of a 3-act structure. Some don't. Some are just like abstract snapshots of, you know, a character's life, or maybe a sequence of flashbacks and flash forwards. And short stories are very different. Every single one is different. So in that case, I would say find the structure that works for you. You can use the 3-act story structure in a way, but think about it more like, less like a journey and more like an event. Okay, so if we can like sort of encapsulate the 3-act story structure into not being this big long journey, but just being a single event, what would that look like? So you can kind of adapt that to suit your own needs. But yeah, don't feel like you have to follow a specific structure, just as long as you are developing your characters and making us see why their internal struggle matters to them and to us. I'll grab one last super chat before we get into our next sprint from Elizabeth. How do I write a damnation arc from almost redeemed back to villain without annoying people? Yeah, so this could be definitely a tricky thing to navigate because you're kind of redeeming your character, but then you are putting them through another negative character arc. I think this would be actually pretty interesting to write, and it would be pretty simple if you just kind of take a positive character arc and then a negative character arc and kind of just like put them back to back with each other. You know what I mean? I talk about negative character arcs in another video on my channel, which you can check out. I highly recommend that one as well, and I give some good examples in it. But basically, you're redeeming your character, right? And then they're at this high point, and then they're starting to be corrupted again and go downhill. So you can kind of just like take the positive character arc and the negative character arc and put them back to back and see where that takes you, is what I would recommend for that. Okay, so let's get into our next sprint. I'm talking for way too long. And I will answer more questions in the next sprint. I'm going to start one again in the Discord. Feel free to join over there. I'm going to join with the same word count. And let's go. Spread number 2 is done. Great job, guys. You should be so proud of yourselves for sticking with it, for being here. Tell me how many words you wrote if you desire. Let's see, I'm up to 4,991. Making progress. Slowly but surely. It's all good. Okay. Looks like you guys had a productive sprint. Awesome. Great job. Okay. We have 1 more hour left to go to this writing session. And yes, my tea is cold, sadly. Okay, a super chat came in. Thank you so much from PH. How would you create a good character arc where their fears and misbeliefs don't do a complete 180 by the end? Okay, so I think you're saying like it's a positive arc, but it's not like a complete turnaround from being like a bad person to being a good person, or like from being completely mistaken about something to being like totally enlightened. And I agree that it's kind of unrealistic feeling when that happens. So you want your character arcs to feel realistic. And what I recommend is really honing in on what is your character's misbelief, what is their aha moment going to be. Those 2 things are what's going to make that character arc come full circle, because we start with the character having a fatal flaw, right? And we end with them in a much better place, maybe not a perfect place. And that's good. You don't want them to be perfect, because nobody's perfect. We all have something extra to learn all the time. So how can you give them a little bit of this aha moment? And maybe they don't fully realize it the way they should, but they can realize some of it. They can have some sort of an epiphany that brings them to a new understanding and sheds new light on this belief that they've held on to for so long. And of course, what's going to bring them to that realization is through their character arc, which will probably bring them on a wild roller coaster ride, maybe bring them to some sort of dark moment. And in that darkness, they see the light. They see the fact that their misbeliefs and their bad decisions and their fears have led them to this moment. And in order to come out of that place, they have to change somewhat. Now, they don't have to do a total, about turn 180 degrees, because a lot of times that's not realistic. But how can you give them like a little bit of truth that they can now endeavor to step forward into their lives with a new understanding of truth? Yeah, something to think about. But that's where I usually start. Let's see. Questions. Tom says, hi, Abby, love watching your channel as it is so inspiring. Thank you so much. Quick question. How do you write a likable anti-hero? Very good question. And actually, I have a video on that. That's a podcast. It's actually, I think it's a piece of a podcast me and my sister did on how to write likable anti-heroes. And to me, what makes an anti-hero really likable is seeing that they have some element, even if it's tiny element of compassion. And this is really, I think, in my opinion, what makes the difference between like a powerful character and a truly strong character. There's a difference between powerful and strong. And to me, what the difference is moral integrity. But of course, when you have a kind of morally gray character, it's hard to say, well, they have moral integrity. Maybe not in the way that your protagonist does, or a really moral character does. But they might have an element of compassion to them. They might have some outlet of compassion, even if everything in their life they are kind of like mean and bitter about. Maybe there's one thing that they show compassion towards. Like maybe it's their cat. Maybe it's one person in their life that they are a little bit more like soft for, or they would go out of their way, or maybe even lay down their life for this person. But everybody else, they're like, I don't care. So what is that one person or that one thing in their life that they show compassion towards? That to me is what makes a likable anti-hero, is somebody that like you can see they still have some humanity in them deep down, very deep. it's okay. It can be hidden from view for a while, as long as we see that there is something in them that is worth loving, right? We have to see something in them worth loving in order to love them. And that's why I find characters that are unlikable so interesting, because we can still care about an unlikable character, right? We don't have to necessarily approve of what they do, and we don't have to necessarily, love them and cheer them on to care about them. And I just find that so fascinating. Okay, last question before we get into our next sprint. This one is from Richard. Thank you for the super chat. You said, what would be your advice for killing off characters early in a book without a character feeling pointless? Good question. So I talked about this in my pet peeves video a while back, of like the red shirt guy is what I call them. Whenever like a character is introduced just for the sake of being killed off. It's kind of a reference to the original Star Trek show, if you know that. But basically, you don't want to do this. You don't want to have a character who is like, their entire purpose is just to get killed. So that being said, to answer your question, to make this character that you want to kill off not feel pointless, let them have an impact on the story. Like whether it happens before they get killed or after, let their death not be like just this passing thing that happens that has to happen. Maybe them being killed triggers something else that has serious consequences for the main character. Basically, like find a way to make it matter, I guess is what I would say. So that it doesn't feel like, oh, well, you just needed somebody to die in this scene because that would be realistic or whatever. Making it matter, making it have some sort of impact, maybe set off some sort of domino effect. Maybe we don't even see the consequence of it at first, but then it comes back around later on. Some things to think about, but hopefully that helps. Okay, let's restart our timers and get into our third writing sprint. I'm going to go ahead and start that in the Discord. You guys are doing amazing in the Discord, by the way. So many words being written. Okay. So if you want to join over there, go right ahead and do that. Otherwise, stay here in the live and let's go for another 25 minutes. Oh, real quick before we begin our next sprint, I just wanted to say, because I forgot to say this earlier, I put these books here for a reason so that I wouldn't forget, and I forgot. Restocks are back on my Etsy shop for anybody who is wondering and asking me, are these books going to be available again? Yes, they were out of stock for a while, but my books that are signed, personalized copies in my Etsy shop, which is linked below, are back in stock. I have 50 copies of Tessa and Weston Best Christmas Ever, which is, of course, a great Christmas gift. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Every copy comes signed and personalized with whoever's name you want and gift wrapped. Okay. There's also, I think, 9 copies of The Other World in hardcover, 20 in paperback, and 8 copies of my super special edition limited line of The Other World in the Etsy shop as well. So if you ever wanted a signed book from me, now's the time to get one. Everything in my Etsy shop is right now 25% off. So now's the time to get a signed book from me if you want to do that. So the link to that is below this video to my Etsy shop, and you can order your signed book there. Okay, now that's out of the way. Let's get into our third sprint. Okay, sprint number 3 is done. Great job, guys. We have one more sprint left. If you can stay for it, please do. If not, I understand. We've been here for a while. But tell me how that went. Let's see. Over 5,000 words now. 5320. Okay, so making progress. Always a good thing. Looks like you guys are making a lot of good progress too. Fantastic. Okay, I'm gonna answer a few more questions and then we'll do our final sprint. Okay, first question. Art with Cupcake asked, I'm writing a fantasy novel that has a lot of action, and it's like every 5 minutes I'm describing my characters as running away. Any ideas on how I can break the cycle of repetition? Good question. Action can become redundant, especially in an action-heavy book. Me and my sister kind of encountered that as we were writing our series together, which has a lot of action in it because it's kind of urban fantasy. And it's become a challenge to me, like every time we arrive at a new action scene, like how can I have fun with this, describe it a little bit differently, make something a little bit different happen. So it's not like the same actions happening over and over again. So that's what I would speak to here is like, try to diversify the action that's happening. Maybe instead of your characters running away, maybe they can't run away. Maybe they have to get away somehow differently. Like maybe they have to get in a boat, or maybe they have to climb a cliff, or maybe they have to go underground. Like think of some new different ways that you can put a unique spin on the action so that you're not just writing the same sequence over and over again. And try to like ask yourself, not just what would be entertaining for someone to read, but like what if this was a movie, what would be like visually stimulating to watch? Would it be the same thing over and over, or would it be like a different scenario each time? And even ask yourself, how would it be filmed? If it was a movie, how would it be cut and edited? Because that can tell you a lot about how you should write and choreograph an action scene, because you really have to choreograph an action scene before you write it. At least I have to. While I'm writing an action scene, I'm trying to sort of put together in my mind every shot, every angle of, you know, what we're seeing here to keep the visual interest as well. So hopefully that helps. Hopeland Publishers asked how to write Insta Love well. Very good question. Me and my sister actually did a podcast on this very recently. So check that out. That's either, I think that's on my channel. Yeah, it's on my channel. It's one of my latest videos. I think it has Tangled on the cover, on the thumbnail, because we use that as an example among a few other story examples. But Tangled is a really good example of Insta Love. You would not think that it happens in like 2 days or 24 hours or however short amount of time goes by in that film, but it's actually a really short timeline. The trick to writing Insta Love well is to make it feel like a lot of time went by, even though it didn't. Okay, so yes, it might feel realistic. It might feel like unrealistic as far as like most people don't fall in love right away. But as long as you still have that buildup of trust and joy and friendship, and you have like sort of a slow burn within a tiny short timeline. It's hard to describe. It's like you're taking the same plot points that you would in like a slow burn romance, but you're just condensing the timeline to be however many days or hours you need it to be. And you can do this well. I've seen it done well many times. And it's all about the emotional buildup of feeling like these characters have gone through things together. Okay, they've gone through trust building moments that have brought them to this place. It's not just like, I saw you across the room and I fell in love instantly, because I don't think anybody believes that anymore. I mean, maybe it's still possible for some people. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but I don't think it happens very often. So you want to have trust building moments between your characters that lead them up to this place where they feel comfortable and vulnerable enough with each other, like they can be vulnerable with each other. Okay. So you want that transition to feel natural. And that to me is what makes a good Insta Love. Let's see, one more question. I'm a Parrot asks, I hate to say it multiple times, but do you have any ideas to stop overthinking during the first draft? Good question. Overthinking is definitely the bane of most writers' existence. And this comes into play not just in the first draft, but also when you're editing and when you're sending to beta readers or your editor or publishers or your readers. There is self-doubt and overthinking at every single stage of writing, which sounds kind of glum and depressing. I'm sorry. That's not all my advice here. First, acknowledge that there will be overthinking at every stage of the writing process. And once you acknowledge that, you can take control of it. And it's an ongoing practice. I speak from experience. It is an ongoing practice that you have to step back and ask yourself, okay, will overthinking this make it better? Usually, no. Usually it's not making anything better. It's just making you worry and stressed out. So the best thing to do is just take a step back, take a deep breath and say, I am going to be fully present right now and just do my best. Do my best work on the thing that is right in front of me. And I guarantee you, if you show up every day and do your best work on the thing that is right in front of you, you will find that one day you have a finished, polished, beautiful book that people love and that you are proud of out in the world. And you'll be like, how did that even happen? It happened because you just showed up every day and you were present. That's the goal, to not overthink. And it's difficult to reach that goal. I completely understand. It is easier said than done. But what has helped me a lot to cure, or rather control, self-doubt and anxiety is to just become fully present in the moment and try to just do my best on the thing that's right in front of me. That being said, let's get back into the grind. Okay, we have 25 more minutes. If you can stay for it, please do. So let's reset our timers and hop to it. I don't know if my timer might go away at some point. It'll still ring, but you might not see the clock anymore because my iPad is dying. Okay. Let's finish strong, guys. Sprint number 4 is done. And so is our writing session for the day. It went a little bit longer than I thought it would, usually because I talk too much. But tell me how it went. Type in the chat. Tell me your final word count if you desire. And how did that session go? Hopefully it was a productive 2 hours for you. I know it was quite productive for me. I got a lot of tracks made on this book proposal. So it's not done, but I did make good progress and I'm happy with the progress I made. So thank you guys so much for joining me for this writing session. I hope you had fun and I hope it was productive for you. I'm going to close this because this is literally about to die. I decided to go run and get my cord for my laptop because that was about to die too. Everything was about to die. Okay, so I guess that means it's time to call it quits for the day. Thank you guys so much for joining me for this live stream. I hope to see you next time. It will be at a different time next week, but it'll be Wednesday, whatever next Wednesday is, possibly a morning session because now the lighting is going away. Literally at sunset at 4:15 in Vermont. I'm not a fan of that part of winter. But anyway, and next week it will be at a different time of day. So I hope to see you then. Keep an eye out on all my socials and my YouTube channel for more updates about that. And don't forget to click the link below this video to go to my Etsy and get a signed copy of one of my books. They're a very limited quantity. I have 50 of my Christmas book, as I said before, and 20 of the Otherworld paperbacks and only a few copies of the hardcovers as well as the special limited editions. All of that is available in the Etsy shop, which is linked below. Every copy comes signed, personalized, gift wrapped, and everything is 25% off right now. So this is the time to buy or get Christmas gifts for anybody who needs a good book in their lives. Okay, so I will leave you with that. And I wish you absolutely the best writing week possible ahead for the rest of the week. And I will see you this weekend in my next vlog. Until then, have a wonderful rest of your day, my friend, and rock on.